The daughter is video chatting with her dad on his birthday, but suddenly, a strange man bursts into her room. To everyone's shock, he even pulls down his pants in front of the camera. Turns out he's Zoe's new boyfriend. What was supposed to be a joyful birthday turns into a disaster. Brian feels humiliated in front of his employees. He's angry, but later convinces himself it's no big deal. Young people are wild these days, yet his colleagues insist he should meet this guy in person. So Brian takes his whole family to visit his daughter. He wants to see the man who might become his son-in-law. To his surprise, the guy turns out to be a millionaire. He lives in a villa so huge it looks like a park. The family drives for 20 minutes and still hasn't reached the house. Curious, Brian's wife asks who this mysterious man is. Zoe only says he owns a gaming company. Her brother gets excited. Soon they arrive, and a bald man greets them warmly. Brian freezes. Is this really the future husband? Before he can ask, Zoe explains he's just the butler. Brian finally breathes a sigh of relief, but the shock isn't over yet. Even the butler's assistant graduated from MIT. Then the main character shows up.
Motherfucking Flemings are in the house!
Yes, it's James, Zoe's boyfriend. Yesterday, he dropped his pants online. Today, he's swearing nonstop. He's rich, but Brian instantly dislikes him. He doesn't even want to stay another minute. But Zoe's mother thinks it's rude to leave so soon, so she convinces him to stay a bit longer. Then James gives them a surprise. He's tattooed their entire family photo on his body, even the dog. Brian is speechless. The more he sees, the more he dislikes this guy. But to be fair, James did prepare well. He fills the house with oil paintings and cameras because Zoe's mom loves art. He builds a private bowling alley because Brian loves bowling. He even hangs Brian's photos on the wall. To impress them, he hires a famous molecular chef to cook dinner. Zoe finds it sweet, but Brian still doesn't approve. He thinks James is wrong for 3 reasons. First, he's 10 years older than his daughter. Second, he's covered in tattoos like a gangster. And third, he swears at elders. To Brian, money is his only advantage. Zoe pleads with her father to give him another chance. Seeing her desperate face, Brian hesitates. He can't understand why Zoe loves this man so much, so he decides to stay 2 more days and observe. That night, James invites them to dinner. The table is filled with fancy dishes, and the edible newspaper is the only thing they can barely accept. Brian then asks about James's education. His answer stuns everyone.
Bro, I hardly even graduated from high school.
Zoe quickly explains that James is a genius. He learned programming at 13 and started his own company. Then Brian asks how they met. At first, James says he pretended to be a worker to avoid gold diggers. But soon he slips and tells the full story. They met, went to a hotel 3 days later, moved in together after a week, and Zoe even moved out of her dorm just to be with him. Brian and his wife are horrified. After dinner, Brian complains nonstop about Zoe's rebellion. Then someone knocks on the door. They think it's Zoe and prepare to scold her. But to their surprise, it's James, soaked and shivering. He says he argued with Zoe and came to apologize. His enthusiasm makes things awkward, but he means well. Then James tells them his story. He never met his father, and his mother abandoned him early. He grew up in an orphanage and had to survive on his own. With no parents to guide him, he developed his rough manners. Hearing this, Brian softens. As a printing factory owner himself, he knows how hard it is for a man to fight his way up in the world. Before leaving, James asks Brian to join him for a morning workout. Brian doesn't think much and agrees. But the next morning, disaster strikes. He goes to the bathroom and almost breaks down. There's no toilet paper anywhere. He calls his wife for help, but she can't find any either. The butler explains it's a paperless house. Brian has no choice but to use the smart toilet, except he doesn't know how. Embarrassed, he lets the butler come in and help. Awkward as it is, the problem is finally solved. Later, Brian heads to the park for the workout. He finds James walking casually near the zoo. He thinks it's just a normal morning exercise, but James suddenly drops a bomb. He plans to propose to Zoe on Christmas Day. Brian is shocked and immediately says no. He thinks it's too soon. Marriage isn't a game, and he still doesn't know enough about this man. But James isn't impulsive. He admits he never had a real family, so he values their blessing more than anything. Finally, they make a deal. James can only propose once he earns Brian's approval. That night, James throws a huge party at his house. Famous guests fill the place. Even Elon Musk shows up. After the party, Brian grows even more curious. He worries his daughter might be tricked, but Zoe defends James, saying,
"But I swear his heart is always in the right place. And I love him."
The next day, Brian and James go out to buy a Christmas tree. On the way back, Brian asks more about his business. Then another bomb drops. James plans to start a foundation and wants Zoe to quit school to be its president. Brian explodes. He confronts Zoe, furious that she's giving up her future. She's only 6 months from graduation, but no matter how hard he argues, she refuses to change her mind. They have a huge fight, and to his shock, Brian discovers Zoe got a tattoo with James's name on it. Brian believes his daughter is falling deeper under James's influence. Cohabitation, dropping out, tattoos, all proof she's going downhill. For her sake, he decides to take action, even if it's illegal. He calls his most trusted employee to hack into James's computer, wanting to see what the foundation really is. But it becomes the worst decision of his life. As soon as he opens the laptop, the wallpaper hits him like a punch. Before he can dig deeper, he hears Zoe and James arguing outside. Turns out they're fighting about the school issue. Hearing Zoe defend him warms Brian's heart for a moment, until the fight suddenly turns into kissing. Brian nearly faints in disgust. Still, he manages to uncover something. The foundation seems to have millions in debt. That night, he calls Zoe and James together to confront them. Brian accuses James of lying. Zoe is stunned. She knew nothing. James admits it. It's true. The Korea gang hasn't crushed one in a couple years. So yeah, I lied. Zoe feels deeply betrayed. Just as the fight is about to erupt, the butler steps in and explains, those are not debts but stock holdings, and the small loss means nothing for James's fortune. Brian still doubts it, so he asks straight,
How much money do you have?
Babe.
197 million.
Then comes the most awkward moment yet. James gives Brian a Christmas gift. He secretly pays off all the debts of Brian's printing factory. Brian is stunned. His company had been drowning in nearly $400,000 of debt. He hid it from the family, hoping a big deal would save him before Christmas. But that deal fell through just yesterday. James thought clearing the debt would make him happy, but he forgot one thing, a man's pride. Brian feels humiliated instead of grateful. The two end up fighting right there in the living room. Furniture breaks. The house turns into chaos. In the end, Brian can't bear it anymore. Ashamed and furious, he packs up and flies home that very night. When Brian finally opens his front door, exhausted and defeated, he freezes. All his old employees are waiting inside. They've pooled their money to give him a Christmas gift. On the tablet screen, he sees a photo of himself with James. At that moment, Brian finally understands. Without James, all these loyal workers might have lost their jobs. Then, the sound of helicopter blades fills the air. Brian steps outside and is stunned. It's James's private helicopter. Turns out, James secretly flew Zoe home, just so she could spend Christmas with her family. He only wants her to be surrounded by love. James sincerely apologizes for what happened yesterday. Brian, now calm, feels his anger melt away. He finally accepts this man as part of the family. He asks if James has proposed yet, and to his surprise, James kept his word. He hasn't said a thing. Impressed, Brian gives his blessing. He tells James to go ahead and ask for Zoe's hand, so James follows his words. He takes out the ring he's been carrying for days, kneels down, and proposes to Zoe. But to everyone's surprise, Zoe gently says no. It's not because she doesn't love him, she just wants to finish her studies first. James looks a bit disappointed, but he respects her choice. Later, Brian finds Zoe and apologizes. He finally realizes his daughter has always been clear-headed. Zoe admits she was angry before, but she understands her father's love and worry. The two hug, and their bond is restored. In the end, with James's help, Brian successfully transforms his old printing factory into one of the top smart toilet companies in the country. James officially becomes part of the family. Their story teaches us something simple but powerful. Life is like a mirror. It reflects our own prejudice and pride. Only when we drop judgment and open our hearts can we see what truly matters. It's not wealth or perfection, but sincerity, kindness, and the courage to change for love. Like a ray of winter sunlight, true affection melts away the cold, and warmth and understanding make life truly beautiful.